Welcome back, everyone, for another installment of our art class. If you missed it before, my name is Cody, Mr. Cody, the tall guy with the hair, whichever you prefer. So today's going to be a bit of an advanced kind of lesson. It's going to be more about our tools as opposed to I guess a skill-based thing, but I will show you how to use this tool. So we're going to talk about the basic thing of a pencil. As you know, we typically have our pencil here. We sharpen it in a pencil sharpener, yada, yada, yada. It looks cool or whatever. But there's actually another way you can sharpen your pencil instead of the traditional way, which is like this. Let me zoom in for you. That's the traditional way of sharpening your pencil. Another fancy way you can sharpen your pencil is like this. As you can see, the lead is a little bit more exposed than the traditional way of sharpening it. And you may wonder, what benefit does this have for me and my artsy adventures? Well, I'm glad you asked. What this does, it allows you to get more control over shading and be a little bit more lighter when you actually use your pencil to shade. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. But I must warn you, we will be using sharp objects, so parental guidance is advised. I repeat, parental guidance. Parents, if you're listening, you may want to help with this. Unless they say you can do this on your own, but we will be using sharp objects. So yeah. So let's get to the tutorial.
All right, so the tools we are going to need to achieve this fancy sharpening technique is one, the pencil, surprise. Two, and most probably the dangerous part about the whole thing, which is why parental advisory, please get parental help or guardian help. Or if you're just super cool and you're an adult watching this, just be careful because I have hurt myself. You're going to need a box cutter or some sort of blade tool. Box cutter or razors work well, but those are a little bit more dangerous. And lastly, you are going to need some sandpaper. You don't really need that big of a piece. Also, you want it to be like the fine grit. I don't know the numbers of sandpaper very well, but like I don't know if this is gonna help. You want it to be like the fine, and you see how real fine that is. You want that. So this is all you're going to need to achieve this. There's a name for this. I don't know it, so sorry. But this is how you go about achieving the sharpening technique. First two tools we're going to need is, of course, our pencil, and secondly, our box cutter. I like to do this over a garbage can because the vacuuming up pencil shavings, I don't know if you ever had to do that, is the worst thing ever. So do yourself a favor, do it over the garbage can. Next, what you're going to want to do is hold the pencil in your non-dominant hand. So it's easier, I feel like it's better to control a blade or something sharp with your dominant hand because you may have a little bit more precision. Unless you're ambidextrous, then show off, you can do it with either hand. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to hold the pencil in my non-dominant hand. Next, I'm going to take the box cutter or blade or whatever you choose to sharpen with in your dominant hand. The most important thing you want to know is to cut away from yourself. Because cutting towards yourself, you can see the issue here. And granted, the blade isn't up. Don't panic. The blade is not up. But as you can see, the issue with cutting towards you. So you're going to cut away from yourself when you are sharpening this pencil. Next, if you are using a box cutter like I am, you do not need that much blade out. I'm going to show you. As you can see, it's not that much. It's literally like just enough to where you can see if I put it next to the pencil, it's like the width of the pencil. That's honestly all you really need. Maybe the width. Is it focusing? Focus, focus, boom. It's just like the width, a little bit after it. You don't need that much blade out if you are using a box cutter. Some box cutters have like a safety lock on the back. Unfortunately, this does not. So if you do not have one like I don't, then be very careful with this. Now, the key to cutting this is, granted, you're probably gonna break the lead of your pencil a couple times. Don't panic, that happens. Don't get frustrated, it happens. But the key to doing this is you want to hold the blade at kind of like an angle. I don't know if you see the angle very well. Let me just get real close, show you the angles and all that. Boom.
The key is to keep the blade at like a little angle. I don't know if you can see that very well. And how far back on the pencil you start depends on how long of a piece of lead you want. The longer the lead you make it, the, I guess, more room for shading you have. I typically go about, I'll say maybe about 2 fingers down for me, but my fingers are kind of big, so it may work out differently for you, but like a thumb and beyond. And you want to hold your pencil at an angle. The key is to basically trim, focus, will it focus right there? Yeah. The key is to basically trim away the wood until you get to the lead. And as you can see, that's a fair amount of trimming, but you're going to like hold your pencil at an angle and just kind of chip away at it. I'm gonna get a better angle for you so you can see it, but this is how you do it. So here's what we're gonna do. Like I said, pencil in the non-dominant hand, blade in the dominant hand. Now I'm going to hold the blade at an angle. Some like to guide the blade with the left thumb, like hold it to guide it. Others kind of like use this. I kind of vary my grip depending on how I'm feeling. Either one works. And you're going to kind of trim the lead off the pencil. Let me get it in a little bit closer so you can kind of see what you're going for. I kind of gouged out a nice bit of the lead. See, it's kind of at an angle, and then I straighten out. You want to trim off little by little as you go down your pencil until you eventually start to see some lead exposed. And then when you start to see the pencil, the wood getting like thinner like this is, now is where you really want to start to take your time and maybe start guiding it with the non-dominant thumb. And as you can see, I broke through to the lead. So now I'm just going to continue going around. So just lead exposed all around. Boom. And as you can see, the lead is exposed. Lead's exposed now. You may find that you do trim some of the lead too. Kind of what I did, I kind of gouged out the lead, but that's all right. And then final step, as you're going around carving it, you can see it's really just carving around the pencil, spinning it as you go. And now I'm just kind of creating like a nice taper at the actual end of my pencil. After you have that, here's where your sandpaper comes into play. First, it's to kind of shape the actual body. As you can see, the body of my pencil is kind of gross. But what you can do is just kind of spin it around on your sandpaper here on the sides to kind of even it out a little bit. All right, and also, that'll come off pretty easily. Also, you want to kind of spin the point of your pencil on the sandpaper. So this is also going to help give you a point. You could also use the blade to sharpen it up, but I kind of just use the sandpaper. And this is essentially how you're going to sharpen your pencil from there on out. You never really have to use the box cutter again until your lead either A, breaks, or B, gets down to like the bottom, but that's going to take some time. It's going to dull before it does that. So now let's see this pencil in action. We have our regularly sharpened pencil and our fancy sharpened pencil. So this is kind of like a tool really used for sketching. I've used it for full-on drawings before, so you can do that as well. But it's primarily like one of those sketching tools. So what I see is when you sketch, you know, outside of the way you hold the pencil, I like to be light when I sketch, so I typically hold the pencil a little bit further back. And with that, it allows me to create lighter lines for drawing. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you know, I can, you know, prop it up. So I'm gonna show you. There's a line there. It's kind of hard to see though, but yeah. So typically, this is like one of those lighter drawing things. So you can hold your pencil long further away. Not only will that help you draw lighter, I can even make like a gradual light line. So with that being said, you find that if you were to hold your pencil lightly at an angle and you try to like shade on a line, even though this pencil has more lead than you would typically have, this is about as broad of a line. I should probably draw it more on this side. You can see this is more of as broad of a line as you can get.
even though the pencil is as flat as I can make it, and I can even make like a nice gradient line if I wanted to, you know, make it a nice and gradient. It's typically about as broad of a line this makes after one pass. Now this pencil here, when you do the same thing, hold it at an angle, as you can see, you have more room to play around with your shading. And another thing is, the more you taper this angle, the flatter you can hold your pencil. So I didn't really taper it that much, but just for demonstration purposes, I am going to taper this maybe a little bit longer, so I do have more angle to lay this flatter, and I'll show you that once I'm done. Okay, so I just taper this line a little bit further. Nothing different, really. Boom. So now when I hold it to its side, as you can see, I get a broader line than I do this way. So it kind of makes it a little bit broader. I can even borderline like lay the pencil down and create a broader line. So if you want to be more pencil showing on the paper when you hold it sideways, you just gotta, in theory, you could probably even taper this all the way down to the end. As you can see, I just kind of sharpened the pencil almost to the width of the lead, but it's still wood. So you probably won't even have to make that crazy of a angle to shade, but you have the option if you really wanted to. So this is kind of one of the benefits. You have more lead to play with in terms of blending and shading and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how I would use this in practice to sketch. I'm not going to get too detailed. It's just going to be a really simple picture of a dog. Most likely going to time lapse it for you, but I will put the sketch up here. So with that, it's going to give me the options. Let me turn the paper in the same angle. Move some of this out the way. Boom. And draw. So, yeah, that's basically how you use this pencil. Gives you more range of not sharpening, but like shading, angles, plus points. You get a point, you get some good shading from it, do all this stuff. Like I said, I did a simple sketch of this doggy. Nothing too crazy. As you can see, I was really loose with it. I combined hatching, cross hatching, quite literally scribbled. And as you can see, the technique you use to create a good sketch doesn't really matter. It's just about being loose, having fun with it, and you can get anything done. So that's a new way to sharpen your pencil if you haven't tried it. But don't think that this pencil isn't capable of doing it. It's just a new way to use something that you already use all the time. So with that being said, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Spirit fingers. And yeah, have a good day. Create, draw things, go outside and sketch from life, see what you find. And yeah.